Can you pinpoint a single year that fundamentally changed the course of history for half the world as population? A year that unlocked doors, shattered ceilings, and redrew the map of what was possible for women. Many would point to 1960. On the surface, it might seem like just another year in the post-war boom. The world was grooving to Elvis, the Cold War was simmering, and JFK was about to enter the White House. But bubbling just beneath this familiar surface was a revolution, a quiet yet powerful one, that began not in the streets with protests, but in laboratories and doctors' offices. This revolution came in the form of a tiny, unassuming tablet, the first oral contraceptive. On May 9, 1960, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, approved a drug called Inovid for contraceptive use. We know it today simply as the pill. This wasn't just a medical breakthrough, it was a social earthquake. For the first time in human history, women had a reliable, effective, and most importantly female-controlled method to separate intimacy from procreation. Before 1960, a woman's life was often a script written by biology. The fear of unintended pregnancy dictated choices about education, career, marriage, and personal freedom. Family planning methods were unreliable, often cumbersome, and rarely in the woman's hands. The arrival of the pill changed the entire conversation. It handed the pen to women, allowing them to start writing their own stories. To truly grasp the magnitude of this change, we have to understand what life was like before. Imagine being a young woman in the 1950s. Your path was largely predetermined. You'd likely marry young, and your primary role would be wife and mother, higher education, a professional career. These were often seen as secondary, temporary pursuits before settling down. An unexpected pregnancy could derail any alternative ambitions in an instant. The societal pressure was immense, and the tools for self-determination were scarce. The pill didn't just prevent pregnancy, it prevented the derailing of dreams. It gave women the power to plan, to decide when and if they wanted to have children. This simple act of timing was revolutionary. It meant a woman could choose to finish her degree. She could choose to establish her career before starting a family. She could choose to pursue a path that wasn't solely defined by motherhood. The journey to create the pill was anything but simple. It was a story of defiance, vision, and a few rebellious pioneers who saw a world that could be different. The key figures were a formidable quartet. First, there was Margaret Sanger, a lifelong activist who had dedicated her life to the cause of birth control, a term she herself popularized. She dreamed of a magic pill and, in her 70s, was determined to see it become a reality. Then there was Catherine McCormick, a biologist, a suffragist, and the heiress to a massive fortune. She believed in Sanger's vision and single-handedly funded the research when no one else would. She literally wrote the checks that made the science possible. On the scientific front, there was the brilliant but controversial biologist Gregory Pincus. He was the one who took on the challenge of developing the hormonal contraceptive, often working outside the mainstream scientific community. And finally, Dr. John Rock, a devout Catholic gynecologist who, paradoxically, believed that a hormone-based contraceptive could be aligned with his faith and was crucial for women's health. He was instrumental in conducting the human trials. Together, this unlikely alliance of an activist, a philanthropist, a maverick scientist, and a progressive doctor pushed against medical and social taboos to bring the pill into existence. Of course, the launch wasn't a simple victory. The initial approval in 1960 was only for married women, and even then, access was far from universal. Many states had laws restricting the dissemination of information about contraception. The famous Griswold v. Connecticut Supreme Court case in 1965 was a landmark moment that established the right to privacy for married couples to use contraceptives. It took another 7 years, until the 1970 case of Eisenstadt v. Baird, for that same right to be extended to unmarried individuals. The battle for access was long and hard-fought, highlighting just how radical the idea of female bodily autonomy truly was. The pill faced intense moral and religious opposition. It was decried as a license for promiscuity and a threat to the traditional family structure. Critics worried it would unravel the very fabric of society. And in a way, they were right. It did unravel the old fabric, but it wove a new one where women had a much greater say in the design. The economic impact was staggering. Studies have consistently shown a direct link between access to the pill and women's educational and professional advancement. With the ability to delay marriage and childbirth, women began enrolling in higher education in unprecedented numbers. They started entering professions that were previously male-dominated, like law, medicine, and business. The wage gap, while still a major issue today, began to narrow as women gained more experience and seniority in the workforce. The pill allowed for long-term career planning. A woman could invest in her skills and build a professional life, knowing she had control over her family planning timeline. This wasn't just about individual success. It was about the economic empowerment of an entire generation of women, which in turn boosted the entire economy. Companies gained access to a wider, more diverse talent pool, and the influx of educated, ambitious women fueled innovation and growth. Beyond the economic and educational shifts, the pill's impact on culture and personal relationships was profound. It ignited the sexual revolution of the 1960s. By separating sex from the consequence of pregnancy, it allowed for a more open exploration of sexuality and relationships. It fundamentally changed the dynamics between men and women, paving the way for more equal partnerships. The conversation shifted from obligation and fear to one of choice and mutual desire. This new freedom was exhilarating for many, but also complex and sometimes confusing. It forced society to confront long-held beliefs about female sexuality, marriage, and morality. The cultural shockwaves from 1960 are still being felt today as we continue to navigate the landscape of modern relationships. The pill was a catalyst, forcing conversations that were long overdue. Now, it is crucial to acknowledge that the story of the pill is not without its complexities and controversies. The early clinical trials, particularly those conducted in Puerto Rico, are a source of significant ethical debate. The women in these trials were often not fully informed of the potential risks or that they were part of an experiment. The early versions of the pill also contained much higher doses of hormones than today's formulations, leading to more severe side effects. This history is an important reminder that medical progress can sometimes come at a cost, and it's our responsibility to learn from these past mistakes. It also highlights the ongoing need for informed consent and ethical oversight in all medical research, ensuring that the pursuit of progress never compromises the well-being and autonomy of individuals. Looking back from where we stand today, it is clear that the small pill approved in 1960 was one of the most transformative inventions of the 20th century. It wasn't just a piece of medicine, it was a key. It unlocked economic potential, educational opportunities, and a new dimension of personal freedom for millions of women. It reshaped families, careers, and the very culture we live in. The world before the pill and the world after are fundamentally different. While the fight for full equality and complete bodily autonomy continues, 1960 stands as a monumental milestone. It was the year women were handed a powerful tool to become the architects of their own lives. The quiet revolution that began with that tiny pill continues to echo, reminding us that sometimes the biggest changes come in the smallest packages. Thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on how the pill changed society? Let me know down in the comments. And if you found this piece of history interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. See you next time.